Henry Levels and the Class Reunion, a short story by Dan McDowell. Henry Levels was the definition of bald. Hairless on the chromis domus, with only a minor follicle here or there, merely hanging on by a literal thread. And simple and common as the problem was, he struggled to accept the reality that his drastic hair loss aged him a decade, maybe even two, not long after the lingering remnants receded well into the great beyond. What little hair remained began to gray rapidly. It wasn't just one or two gray hairs here or there. It became Santa Claus white in 2 years. But the reality of the situation was twofold. What initially began as a weakness ultimately became his greatest strength, a key part of his identity, and a ticket to discounted meals, movie tickets, and opportunities to cut to the front of the line. All it took was a bit of theatrics. He could walk like he was a little older, talk a little slower, and muse about things as if he had been born 20 years earlier. Before long, everyone forgot he was 20 years younger than he looked. It earned him status, gave him clout, and granted him opportunities. Now and then, in front of younger audiences, he could flip the switch and act his age, shocking them all with his impressively reachable youth. His chameleon-like abilities often left him talking shop with the gray hairs, and never struggling to keep pace with the youngsters either, gaining him a sort of honorary status in both groups. There was one setback. He had virtually no contact with his own age group. The very people he grew up with and around felt too common. He wasn't as interesting to them, and neither were they to him. That is perhaps where the great breakdown in Henry's method remained. It was in the wee hours of the night that a great epiphany struck Henry, that he could have it all if he really wanted to, not via hair plugs or hair dye, but rather through his own distinctive persona. He could channel the best of his 56-year-old and 26-year-old selves and make 36 look far more fun than it should. That was something to envy amongst the rest. His quality of life normalized, his acceptance of baldness, his rapidly graying hair and beard, what remained of it, and the other setbacks that came with age. They were merely accents of him. 3 years of bliss kept Henry well, his identity shaping him. Then came the invitation in the mail, the 20-year high school class reunion. Henry had actually shaved his head bald the year of the 10-year reunion and somehow hadn't been invited. 15 years came around and he skipped it. But 20, he had to make an appearance. There had been just as much life after high school as there had been before it, and surely everyone had some new material to cover. Lots of his classmates weren't online, and he'd lost touch. Then there were the fun, gossipy sorts of things that you figured out at class reunions. Who got fat? Who got plastic surgery? Who went bald? Who's on their third divorce? Who has the most kids? Blah, blah, blah. And where was Henry in this mix? Was he a man of success? Or was he the bald-headed weirdo that looked like he could have been his ex-classmate's teacher? He fretted and worried for weeks, not sharing his insecurities with his wife or with his kids, who regularly enjoyed bopping the top of his bald head. He felt the little spiked hairs where they still grew, remembering the 20 years of life he'd lived after those not-so-glamorous high school years. He'd sneak a peek at the Just for Men aisle in the Walmart. He'd considered what he could do to cover the shine of his scalp. A formal cocktail hour was scheduled, jacket and tie required. A hat wasn't going to fly, a wig would be spotted from miles away, and although bald could work if he just owned it, he felt the same overwhelm that plagued him in his early 20s as his hair vanished as rapidly as the fidget spinner fad, which in fact was the year he deemed his Great Recession. He'd laugh it off. He could do it. He was the guy who went bald, had a family, and was living the American dream, white picket fence included. As he went to bed, at rest with his decision to just go as himself and see what the others would think, rather than invent a persona, he started to hear a scratching sound at his back door. Getting up to investigate quietly, he peeked through and saw a small figure running toward his detached one-car garage. The door was standing wide open, his tools and junk exposed to the elements and whoever this was. Grasping for a kitchen knife, he walked slowly toward the garage and heard his stereo playing, along with the squeak of his drum throne, now turned guitar chair, moving. His space was invaded. As he rounded the corner, a small man sat on the stool, noodling with one of his guitars, which was clearly oversized for the man to play.
Excuse me, can I help you?
Henry asked, studying the man who seemed less intimidating by the minute.
I'm the one who should be asking you.
The little man said.
What are you doing in here?
Exploring a grown man's space. Is that okay?
It might have been with permission, but I don't know you. Do I?
The man put the guitar down on the stand and jumped down. He couldn't have been more than 4 feet tall, but he looked 50.
Well, my friend, I've always wandered around. It never seemed to bother you before.
Well, it does now.
Henry said, his voice growing tense.
I understand. Well, I'll just be getting on then.
Hold on.
Henry said.
If you're here, you must have a reason. Is this my midlife crisis? I feel kind of young for this.
You certainly look the part, don't you?
The man said, chuckling.
Or like I'm 5 years past it.
Henry said, a growing insecurity in his voice.
Well, buddy, it might be your lucky day.
And why's that?
Henry asked. The little man threw the invitation to Henry.
You've got your 20-year class reunion. How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, I don't know. I just want to be remembered, I guess. They forgot to invite me to the 10-year reunion.
The man laughed aloud, struggling to regain his composure.
Now that's funny. And I thought I was a loser, huh?
Henry studied him a moment.
I'm sorry.
The little man said.
Let me cut to the chase.
Please do.
You can go just like you are, and you'll certainly be remembered as the bald guy that no one remembered, except that he's a lot more bald than when he graduated, or you can be the man that came of age and matured well.
Okay, and?
Or you can be the man that didn't age a day. Which will you choose?
Didn't age a day? What do you mean?
The little man walked Henry to the front of the garage and waved his hand over the door, making a sort of mirror-like portal appear. It showed Henry at his reunion with a thick head of hair, graying but well-styled, and his beard nicely kept and matching. His big smile and dapper appearance gave him the sort of George Clooney quality that most would hope for. The women all moved toward him, and his wife and children all faded into the background.
What do you think? It comes at a cost, as you can see, but you've also got all these divorcees right for a man, and you might have just what they need with a little help from me.
Henry smiled, clearly moved, but troubled by his dismissiveness of his own family, his home.
Well, I don't know.
I figured you'd say that.
He said.
That's why tonight only, we have a one-time special for you, my friend.
Which is?
If I show it to you, you have to promise you'll do something for me.
Henry shook his head.
I don't make these kind of deals without knowing what I'm getting into. Hard, fast rules in this home.
There we go, a decisive man, that's better. Yes or no answers get you further in life. Living on the fringes, that gives you the grey hair. Being forever torn, that's what eats away at you.
So, what's the one-time deal?
Henry asked. The little man waved at the portal on the garage door again, and it materialized. Henry arrived at the event with his family walking alongside him, his hair restored, his youth vibrant, and his classmates impressed with his confidence.
Well, how about this? A one-time special? I give you a taste of your youth back for the weekend, and then after it's done, back to normal.
Henry grinned.
Seems a safer choice than the other.
You'd be admired and talked about for weeks. everyone would remember the guy they forgot. And when 30 years rolls around, you could be bald and no one would give a flip because of the lasting impression you made at 20. What do you say?
What's the catch?
Oh, yes.
The little man said, grabbing a ball from the garage shelf and tossing it to Henry.
The catch is that you give me a year of your memories and life experiences. You can pick any year you like, but you will never get them back.
Henry froze.
Tough one to think on, huh?
And if I pick one, what would you do with it?
I suppose I just sit in here and watch it all play out like a movie on your garage door, laughing with you and at you, your moments of greatness, your biggest failures, and then it would vanish away.
How would it affect my family?
I can't answer that. I don't have control of that. I only have control over you.
He said, putting his arm on Henry's shoulder. The little man walked over to the mini fridge in the garage and cracked a beer.
Here you go, you need one too.
Have you been the one taking these?
Henry asked.
Guilty as charged, only every third Wednesday of the month, honest to God.
He said, raising his hand.
Forgive me for saying this if it's insensitive,
Henry said.
but it doesn't take as much to get you wasted, does it?
You be the judge.
The little man said. They both threw back a couple of beers and laughed the night away, growing more and more accustomed to each other. As the sunrise approached, the little man reminded Henry time was short.
Pal, I've got to run. Are you going to take this deal or not? What year's it going to be?
How do you extract this year from my mind?
Henry asked.
It's complicated but efficient.
Meaning?
Question mark.
It'll feel like amnesia. You walk back inside the house, life goes on, and just like that, 2015 is gone from your memory.
I didn't say a year.
It was just an example.
The little man showed the portal mirror on the garage door once more, flashing the women flocking to Henry, and then the version of Henry looking handsome with his family close.
And if I go with option 1?
Henry asked.
No cost to your memory.
And option 2?
We've covered that already. Just pick your year.
And option 3?
I didn't give an option 3.
And I suppose that's why I may end up having the last laugh. You violated my space without permission, drank my beer, manipulated me, and tried to interrupt my life. I like what I have and how I have it. I came to accept this already. I don't need any elixir of youth to define me. If you'd shown up a few years ago, I might have had a different take, but I've grown a lot since then.
The little man smiled.
Of course you have. You don't remember, do you?
What?
I did show up a few years ago, and I gave you the same deal. To give you your confidence in exchange for that year's memories. That's why they're all so fuzzy in your mind, why you feel so conflicted. We did the same song and dance in the same space that year, even cracked beers, and I helped dig you out of your helpless insecurities.
I won't be making the same mistake again. I love what I have and who I'm with. Sayonara, pal.
Henry pulled the garage door up, and the sunlight shone through, causing the little man to vaporize into the floor. He grabbed his blower and blew the little man's dust out of the room and into the driveway as his wife stepped out the back door.
You okay, honey?
She asked, a cup of coffee in hand, a yearbook annual under her arm.
You want to talk about your classmates? Help me figure out who's who.
I'd love to.
He said. And just like that, a few days went by. He arrived at the reunion bald and confident with his family, sturdy and memorable, and just as playful beneath, knowing he'd whisked the little man's offer away. He never told a soul, and he never would.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at identity, how we see ourselves versus how others see us, especially with aging, all through this really strange story of Henry Levels. The description is stark, like major baldness, and his hair went totally white, like Santa Claus white, in just a couple of years.
And that's the core of it, isn't it? This huge gap between how he looked on the outside and, well, how he felt inside. He still felt young, wanted to be maybe 25 again.
But looked 55. That must have been jarring.
Totally. It created this disconnect, you know? He wasn't really relating to people his own age because of how he presented. It's almost like arrested development triggered by this rapid aging.
He did find a way to cope, though. for a while, actually kind of brilliantly.
Oh yeah, the old man theatrics.
Exactly. He leaned into the look, slowed his walk, maybe deepened his voice a bit, and used it to get perks.
Like discounts, cutting cues. He turned what felt like a weakness into this sort of social hack.
It was working for him, this kind of internal fraud, you could say.
Until it wasn't. Until the class reunion invite showed up.
Ah, the reunion. 20 years. That's a big one.
Huge. And suddenly his whole coping mechanism, his act, it felt threatened. He wasn't just Henry anymore. He was potentially the bald-headed weirdo facing his past. Success versus that.
The anxiety must have been intense, which I guess leads us to the really weird part.
The catalyst, yeah. Middle of the night in his garage.
He finds this little man, like 4 feet tall.
Just there. Exploring a grown man's space is how it's put. Very eerie.
And this encounter leads to a choice, a bargain.
Mm-hmm. The little man offers him a way out, specifically for the reunion. 2 options, really crystallizing the things Henry seems to value or struggle with.
Option 1, pure vanity. Look amazing, like George Clooney. Great hair, beard, the whole package.
Right.
Women notice him.
But the cost, his family, they just sort of fade into the background, not really present in that reality.
Oof. Okay, option 2.
Confidence. He looks youthful, vibrant, makes a great impression. And crucially, his family is there, proud, sharing the moment. He seems genuinely successful and content.
That sounds much better.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always a catch, right? What's the price for option 2?
A big one. He has to give up an entire year of his memories. Like pick a year, say 2015, and just erase it.
Whoa, a whole year, just gone, amnesia.
Complete blank. All the experiences, the good, the bad, the lessons learned, maybe seeing his kids grow that year, just wiped. That's the currency for this authentic confidence.
That's a steep price for looking good at a party, so what does he do?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. He actually turns both deals down.
Really? After all that anxiety?
Yeah. He decides he values what he has now, his family, his life, even with the baldness. Says he doesn't need some elixir of youth. He'll go to the reunion as himself. Bald, but confident in his own way.
Good for him. Feels like a moment of real self-acceptance.
It does, but then twist. The little man isn't upset. He just smiles and tells Henry they already made this exact kind of deal years ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, years prior, Henry traded his helpless insecurities, probably from when the aging first hit hard, for a year of memories. The same year, Henry now remembers as being kind of fuzzy.
No way. So the confidence he feels now.
Might actually be the result of that first forgotten bargain. He thinks he earned this self-acceptance, but maybe he outsourced it years ago and just doesn't remember paying the price.
That completely changes the feeling of his decision. So his current strength is built on a forgotten sacrifice.
Potentially. It casts a shadow, doesn't it? The little man then kind of vaporizes when the sun hits him. Symbolic, maybe? Rejecting the darkness.
And Henry, he goes at the reunion.
He does. Bald, with his family, looking confident. But now he has the secret. Maybe 2 secrets if you count the original deal he doesn't remember. He's determined to just live his life.
Wow, so he chose his reality, kind of doubled down on it.
He did. But it leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty deep question. What does it mean if our confidence, our sense of self, is maybe rooted in something we deliberately erased? A part of our past we sacrificed.
Can you truly call it growth if it was purchased? Even if you forgot the transaction, Henry went to that reunion sturdy and memorable, but was that strength entirely his own? Can real growth ever be outsourced like that? Makes you think.